Oh, no.
Welcome to The Now, I'm Ashley Jenkins.
And I'm Gus Sorola.
Could your favorite RPGs be transitioning away from full-on releases that you put the disc in and then spend 100 hours exploring and turn more towards the microtransaction-based games as a service sort of dark side?
You know, episodic releases, loot boxes filled with high potions and mega elixirs, additional story quests added through DLC.
Oh boy! So all this might sound like a nightmare fuel to a lot of gamers, but seems like it might actually be the direction that everything is heading, at least according to Japanese RPG giant Square-Enix, who says they want to move all of their games in that direction, including their most popular franchises like Final Fantasy and Kingdom Hearts. Because it worked so well with Hitman.
People liked Hitman.
People did, and then they shut it down.
Oh, great, you're right. Good point. And speaking of Final Fantasy and Kingdom Hearts, we finally got some more official news about the hotly anticipated Square-Enix RPGs, Final Fantasy VII Remake and Kingdom Hearts 3.
Are they real?
Right on cue. It's time to ask once again, are these games nothing more than elaborate hoaxes meant to make gamers cry themselves to sleep?
I think they might be. After months of speculation based on job postings and rumors from various sources, it looks like, no, we probably shouldn't expect either of those games to happen until as far away as 2020. And no, that's actually not a joke. I wish it was a joke.
PS5 launch title, you heard it here first.
Oh God.
Weeping intensifies. All of these new comments come from the transcribed English translation of Square-Enix's most recent earnings presentation, complete with handy slides.
Ooh, slides. During the presentation, they mentioned that the games as a service model is basically the future of gaming. So that's a really promising statement there, and indicates all of their titles, even their tentpole releases, are going to shift towards that.
Would that be GaaS, gaming as a service?
I mean, it smells that way.
GaaS. You heard it here first. The company said titles that have become global hits recently have tended to be offered via the games as a service model, see GaaS, and we believe that is going to be the mainstream model for gaming in the future. In developing future titles, we will approach game design with a mind to generate recurring revenue streams.
Oh God, recurring revenue streams.
Our favorite phrase.
So that means things like Final Fantasy, Tomb Raider, future Marvel games, Kingdom Hearts, all of those could be upended to become ongoing services rather than individual standalone games.
Yes. It seems like the model for that could be based on how the company's been treating Final Fantasy 15, at least based on comments by that game's director, Hajime Tabata. Back in February, he made some interesting comments about Final Fantasy 15, which has taken on a life of its own after release.
And at the time, he said in an interview with Polygon, I don't want 15 to be a one-off experience where you play it, complete the story, and then you're done with it. I want it to be something that users can enjoy for years to come.
Since the game's release, they've tweaked certain things about the story. They're adding multiplayer and a character creator to it at some point in the future, and they've even started allowing fans to vote on what kind of story additions they'd like to see next, straight from the game itself.
Yeah, so looks like Square's probably looked at that model and said, huh, why don't we just charge people for that?
If all of this sounds familiar, it's basically the same model that Ubisoft and plenty of others are shifting toward as well. In Ubisoft's most recent earnings briefing, the studio said they were going to be doing away with new releases at some point in the future, relying more on live services and less on new titles.
Welcome to the future, everybody. Yeah, I think Ubisoft said that next fiscal they're going to go down to like 5 AAA releases, the fiscal after that 4, and yet they're predicting revenue to go up because of gas. So exciting. The problem is, well, Square-Enix has already kind of tried some of this stuff with the episodic and constantly updated HITMANNED game series they just canceled and are currently trying to sell off the rights to.
That announcement came just ahead of the earnings briefings we're talking about right now. They sent word in a statement to investors that Hitman didn't quite do what they wanted, and as such, they're auctioning off the developers IO Interactive.
Which kind of begs the question of why they think it's worth trying with other franchises. It didn't work here. Yes, people really liked Hitman. They ended up enjoying it. It was a great game, but it was a confusing release model, and it clearly didn't sell the way they wanted it to. Now, it could just be that they liked the model presented by Hitman, but don't believe that it has the legs seen by other franchises like Final Fantasy. Who knows? Maybe the numbers they've seen from Final Fantasy 15 have given them reasons to think the possibilities are much better with those kinds of games.
So it's a hot model with bad legs. And we already know they plan on doing this with Final Fantasy VII Remake, a game they're going to be releasing in multiple parts. Plus, some of the most recent rumors about Kingdom Hearts 3 indicate that a similar path could be used there, only in that game's case because it'll be released too early to be finished.
Yay! Woo. Just like Final Fantasy 15! That rumor came from an alleged insider on Twitter last month who went on a tweet storm about Kingdom Hearts 3. At the time, he potentially broke some big news about the game's release, saying, if everything goes according to plan, there will be a Kingdom Hearts 3 trailer at E3, and the game will be released in 2018. It will be released in 2018, even if it's not finished, because that's the way we like our games.
Yeah, the comparison the leaker went on to make was that of Final Fantasy 15, that this would be a game that releases unfinished and then gets fixed over time through meaningful updates.
But there's also no telling just how much truth there is to some of that, considering the comments that Square-Enix CEO Yusuke Matsuda made about both Final Fantasy VII Remake and Kingdom Hearts 3 in this same briefing.
During the presentation, Square revealed a slide showing logos from all of their upcoming titles and release dates, along with Dragon Quest XI, the Final Fantasy XII remaster coming this year. Square-Enix also showed logos for Final Fantasy VII, Kingdom Hearts 3, and their licensed Marvel IP.
Now, about those 3 titles, Square-Enix CEO Yosuke Matsuda had some kind of troubling things to say. This slide shows our release lineup for fiscal year 2017, as well as for fiscal year 2018 and beyond. We plan to launch each of these upcoming titles in the next 3 years or so.
Yee. And judging from Matsuda's comments, it could be even longer than another 3 years for games that were first revealed in 2013 and 2015. Neat. I mean, hey, if it's less than 10 years, it's faster than Final Fantasy 15, right? So, I mean, we got that going for us.
No, look, it's possible he's just saying that one of these titles will be out 2018, another the following year, the furthest of the 3 landing in 2020. That's the dream, I guess. Or we could be looking at some problematic translation as well. Totally possibility.
But it's also possible that Matsuda means exactly what he says, and that we shouldn't expect these games until around 2020 or maybe even later.
Which raises some kind of troubling, complicated questions, especially if we're looking at episodic releases. Like, is this a timeline for the entire game to be completed? A timeline for just the first episode? Will each episode take 2 to 3 years or more to develop?
Smells like Half-Life 3.
Oh no.
And none of that's taken into account the Bahamut in the room. Are we still even going to be in the same generation in 2020?
Well, I mean, probably, depending on how we're iterating these days. I guess it's just like...
We'll have to find out once we see how Scorpio does.
V4 of the current generation, is that going to be the thing? So earlier rumors about job postings at Square Enix this week led some fans to believe that Final Fantasy VII Remake might be much, much closer. And like fools, we dare to dream that all of that could be true, but the reality might be so much worse.
So in short, we have no idea when these 2 games are coming out, but the best case scenario is getting them broken sometime next year. That's best case, wow. Or waiting until around 2020, and who knows, maybe there'll be services instead of games.
Yeah, so what do you guys think of Final Fantasy VII Remake and Kingdom Hearts 3 being mentioned by Square for release dates sometime as far away as 2020 or so? I mean, do you think the or so, like, could that be like an extra 5 years, 2 years?
Square Enix time. For future heartbreaks from Square Enix, remember to like this video, and if you're new around here or not, subscribe to the know. Get all your gas.
Briefing.
During the presentation, Square revealed a slide showing logos from all of their upcoming titles and release dates, along with Dragon Quest XI and Final Fantasy XII Remaster coming this year. Square Enix also showed logos for Final Fantasy VII, Kingdom Hearts 3, and their licensed. God, I hadn't made a mistake. Judging from some of